Welcome in, everyone. You are listening, as always, to the Authority Podcast here on the TeacherCast Network. Thanks for being with us. Really pleased to bring you into today's conversation with my friend, Jeff Bradbury, a podcaster who has been doing it for a very long time. Jeff's an educator, an ISTE award-winning digital learning strategist, an educational broadcaster, public speaker, entrepreneur, and triplet dad. As we're recording this, he is about to be the dad of 12-year-old triplets. And so by the time this comes out, he'll have 36 years worth of kids. And his message has inspired thousands of educators through the TeacherCast Educational Network for about the past 15 years. So I'm sure there's a lot of you out there who are familiar with TeacherCast as kind of one of the originals in education podcasting. Jeff has a book out called Impact Standards: Designing District Systems That Power K-12 Learning. That's what we're talking about here today. Jeff, welcome to the show.
It is great to see you. Thank you so much for having me on today, Ross.
Absolutely. And Jeff, you look much too young to have 36-year-old kids.
It's been an amazing 12 years of working with you. You've been with me throughout the entire thing. You've known me before triplets. And so, yeah, it's 12 triplets, and parenting is a fun adventure. And now we're hitting the preteen area now.
You know what? You're going to have a whole production crew is what that's like. They used to say, I'm one of 4 boys. And so everybody would say one more and you have a whole basketball team, but you're going to have an entire production crew there to grow the empire.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the book. Here's a question. This is just a small question. What's the book about? Tell us about what's the big idea behind this. We'll get into some specifics. We'll go through a lot of it, but every now and then I feel like it's useful just to start with what is kind of the animating idea for the book, right? Why is this the one that you chose to write?
The book is called Impact Standards: District Systems That Power K-12 Learning. It took me a long time to write it. I'm super excited. It came out in the summer of 2025. And essentially the book is this. Every single school district has a strategic plan. The school district comes together, the superintendent leads the way, the Board of Education's into it, the community's into it. And essentially your strategic plan says, in 3 to 5 years, this is where we want to go. That's where this book picks up. Once you have that plan and you basically have an answer to the question, what do I want my classrooms to look like? That's where this book picks up. We talk a little bit about how do you walk into a classroom, figure out what you want it to look like, and then get that classroom to be that way. But most importantly, doing it through instructional coaching, doing it through standards-based, curriculum-aligned instructional coaching. And how do you take your vision for that school district? How do you take the vision for what classroom instruction should be, could be? And that we're talking everything from the lesson planning to the interactions to all of that stuff that your district wants. And it doesn't matter large district, small district. But how do you blend the digital learning with the technology, with the curriculum? And how do you support everybody that's on what we call the innovation curve? But most importantly, it's how do you do it through the use of your professional development system, your instructional coaches. And finally, at the end of the book, we talk about what does it look like at the end. Once everything is moving, once your coaching department is running, once your PD is running, once your teachers are trained, once your vision is starting to move and everybody's all at the same spot, what does that actually look like? And then how do you take that next step? So is it a handbook? Is it a blueprint? Is it a bathroom reader? I don't know. But the bottom line is it is that one book that every single school leader needs, whether you're an instructional coach, superintendent, tech director, and most importantly, your curriculum director. It is that handbook that says, okay, I know where I want to go. Let's figure out how to get there.
You've already touched on a number of the different stakeholders, contributors to these strategic plans. I guess, who do you believe should be the most commonly the initiative owner, right? Who's leading it?
Every strategic plan is led by the superintendent, right? That's why you have the superintendent. This is the vision. This is the plan. And really, and if I'm talking in broad terms, this is the document from which the superintendent is graded upon. Are you getting where you need us to go? You've got the ship, start to move it, right? And essentially your strategic plan is great. In 1 year, we want this. In 3 years, we want this. We want all we want all classrooms to be one-to-one Chromebook. We want to have Wi-Fi in everywhere. We want to have these scores. Think about it this way. Your school district is going to say, I want to raise over the next 3 years, I want to raise the reading scores in my 3rd through 5th grade classrooms. Great. School district comes up with it. The principals are all on board. This is our goal, is to raise reading scores. How are we going to do that? We're going to do step 1, step 2, step 3. Great. Well, who's going to be in the classroom supporting that? And again, that's where it goes back to, that's where your instructional coaches come from. We bring in instructional coaches to figure out, how do we raise those reading scores? How do we work with teachers so that way they can become better at supporting that goal for raising reading scores? We bring in reading coaches. We bring in, you name the type of instructional coaches. We want to make sure everybody is able to teach in a digital environment. Great. We need tech coaches. We want to bring in, I have a friend that just became an official AI coach in her district. Great. Clearly, one of the goals for that district is we want to embrace artificial intelligence. How are we doing that? Well, I've got this person, and they're going to learn how to do it. And it's going to be on them, the coach, to bring out a program so that way everybody in the district, our job as administrators is to provide the tools. Their job as the coaches is to create the system and to run with it. So again, there's a lot of information in there. It's about 90,000 words. It took me a long time to write. And looking at it now, you can see all the different school districts who have had a chance to check it out. And it's been kind of neat connecting with people who have gone through it, read through it. And, there's a podcast attached to it, of course, there's a workbook. There's a number of different supplements and stuff. But being able to support school districts at that level has been kind of awesome. But to answer your question, it's the superintendent's project. And it's basically the handbook going, okay, once you make that declaration, now what?
The reason I asked that, right, is because you referenced 3 to 5 years. Where do we want to be? And I'm thinking about, among other challenges, right, the declining average tenure of superintendencies and the turnover in the role. And how do we get districts to commit to these strategic plans and commit to seeing them through in that context? And is it, what comes first, the plan or the tenure kind of thing, right? Is it like, if we have a great plan and we're building and we're progressing forward, then we will continue to be able to build on that? Is it having some certainty around the end point and working backward from that? I mean, I'm just curious about that, because I could see that being one of those things that may consistently prevent schools and districts from committing to a long-term plan. 3 years in terms of a school district is a long term. If you think about what's 3 years in the life of a student, right? But ultimately, if you don't start and you don't work through it, then you'll never get there. And every 5 years, it's the same conversation about the things that we haven't done.
Well, you've given the answer, but you've also solved the problem, right? Why do veteran teachers not want to buy into systems? Because when you blink, it's going to change anyway. Right? Somebody else is going to come in. They've got their great idea. They've got their consultants, and here you go. To answer your question bluntly, the answer is your mission statement, right? Every school district should have 2 things, and they should be the most consistent that are out there. Every school district should have a mission statement and a vision statement. And you'd be surprised at how many schools don't, or backwards. They have a statement, but they've labeled it wrong. Or they have a statement and it's not clear of what their statement actually is. Every school district should have 2 different statements, their mission and their vision. Their vision statement is, where do I want to go? In 3 years, our hope is that all 3rd grade students are reading at proficient. All 8th grade students are ready to get into a rigorous high school. And by the end of 12th grade, we have prepared them for college, career, etc. That is a small version of a vision. The mission statement is, how do we get there? Now, the next step to answer your question is, well, who drives the ship? And you need to bring in a leader that is going to fit that mission statement. And I've had the opportunity to be in a number of school districts and be a part of not only the hiring committees, but also let's really think about this. Your strategic plan has to fit the mission of the school. Your superintendent has to fit the mission of the school. I'll give you a good example. I used to live in North Jersey. Most of North Jersey is Google, and it would not make any sense. Even if you're doing a national search, it wouldn't make any sense to bring in a superintendent that was Microsoft's background, because they're going to come in and they're not going to understand the Google environment. And then next thing you know, everything changes. So you really should look at things going, this is what the community wants from the school. This is the mission that the community is sharing that they want the school district to go in. Where's Captain Hook? How can I put that one in there? And then how does Captain Hook bring in their crew? And really, where do we want the ship? Sorry, watching a lot of Once Upon a Time. All of these different things in here. And then really, now you know the direction that the ship is moving. Who's going to support that? Who's going to support who's going to be rowing the oars, and who's going to be tapping into everything there? Your superintendent's got to set the vision. Your principals have to agree to it. The principals have to be working with the instructional coaches. The instructional coaches are then going into the classrooms. And if the classrooms are going, then the students are going to see consistency. And if the students are seeing consistency, who else sees that consistency? The parents. And when the parents start to see consistency, the phone sometimes stops ringing. I'm not going to say it always does, but at least we can see the consistency moving in there. But if the board, as an example, brings in a leader that's going to completely throw out everything and go in a different direction, and look, you see this in basketball teams, you see this in football teams, right? We want a coach that's just like the previous one, or we're ripping it up and trying it again. It's no different.
Yeah. So then who's pulling up the anchor on the ship? I mean, to me, is this piece of buy-in largely, right? It is determining what is the element here that is going to keep us from moving forward. And it's about the people, right? And it's whoever are the stakeholder groups who are not on board with what we are doing, who are not willing to do their part or to support it, largely beginning with they don't see the vision. That usually is because we haven't communicated the vision, right?
Right.
And then we haven't thought ahead to who are the interested parties in this, who
Or
are
the right
ones,
person.
right?
And the word that we're having here is culture. Who sets the culture of everything? Is it the super? Is it the principal? Is it somebody else? One of the things that I mentioned in the book is this video about, and maybe you've seen it, maybe people who are listening to this, and the video, you can find a variety, but it's millions of views. It's basically is called Guy Dancing on a Hill. Have you ever seen this video? And essentially, there's a video of a guy dancing on a hill at a concert. And you can see him on the side. It's grassy, and there's a bunch of people sitting around. And if you find the right video, there's a narration to it. And the way that the video works is it's one guy who's up and he's boogieing and he's dancing, and that's it. And then another guy comes up. And so we talk about the fact that the guy who's dancing first, he's called the lone nut. He's got to go up there and put himself out there. And his job is to attract one more person. And if you have a second person boogieing and dancing, that now validates the first person. Now, in order to form the movement, you have to have a third person come up and validate the first two, because that third person now is forming a group. And once you have a group, you're going to get 4 or 5 or 6 more coming to you. And then once you have 10 people dancing, you see in the video, suddenly 30 people are dancing, 80 people are dancing. And now the culture has shifted. Now the movement. And I say that, and I write this in the book too, and I do this in all my PD sessions. Who's the first guy that has to dance? And most people get this one wrong, but the first person that has to dance is the superintendent. He's got to say, we're going Google, we're going Microsoft, we're raising the reading scores, we're going. He sets the vision. The next person that has to verify that he's not a nut is the principal. If you get up in front of your principal and the principal goes, that guy has no clue what he's doing, we're over here. A, principal's not going to be around that long. And B, why would you listen to the vision? Your immediate boss isn't. So who's the third guy? Who's the third guy that's dancing that starts to get the little group together? That's your instructional coach. The instructional coach is going to go into all the lead teachers' rooms and say, look, we're going to try this Google thing. Look, we're going to try this discourse thing in the classroom. Look, we're going to try this AI thing. And if we can get the lead teachers going, then you can get a few more teachers and a few more teachers. The next thing you know, the school is like, okay, well, 30 people in here are doing this AI thing. Maybe I'll give it a try. And now you've got a culture shift. But the moral of the story is the instructional coach can't bring AI in, and the principal can't bring AI in, and the tech director can't bring AI in. It's got to be from the top. We are going to try this. We're going to fail. We're going to succeed. But the superintendent has to dance first to then get the buildings involved, to then get the coaches involved, to then get your lead teachers. And next thing you know, you have a movement, and that takes time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, perhaps related to that metaphor, one thing I was wondering when it comes to digital learning, I guess the baseline objectives around digital learning in today's schools, like how much of it is have to, how much of it is want to, right? Like how much of the plans are built around, well, this is just what's required in schools today, and so we have to do all these things, and then how much of it is that aspirational, inspirational piece. And when you mentioned the dancing, it's like it starts off as, okay, I have to do this. All right. And now the next person's like, all right, I guess I have to join. And then at a certain point, you reach a tipping point where I want to be part of that. Now I see where it's going, and I see what's taking shape, and I see what can be possible. And now I want to jump in there. But, it starts out, I think, with probably figuring out how are we addressing like fundamental needs and requirements and being able to operate in a modern digital environment. But then how much are we really thinking about what is our unique vision? Because that's the thing about the mission and vision, particularly in organizations like schools, right? That I'm sure if you read 100 of them, you'll find 90 of them that look kind of the same. And then there's the exceptions where there is a uniqueness to what we want to be in our environment. That just because we're all schools and school districts, like it doesn't mean that we all necessarily have the same, goal of where we want to be and same way of going about it. Sure, we have certain things in common, but it does need to really start with that leader, right? To really define what is this organization going to be.
Well, remember, and you know this better than I do, everything that we do is in the marketing. If
Mhm.
I said, Ross, I want you to record a podcast, and then I want you to edit it, and then I want you to go into Canva and make 2 to 3 graphics for it, and then I want you to actually write a newsletter for it, and then I want you to write the blog post for it, and then I want you to stick it onto Facebook. But that's going to be different than putting it onto LinkedIn, but that's going to be different than you're going to go forget this. However, if I said, Ross, I'm going to give you the opportunity to speak to the world, I'm going to give you the opportunity to share something that you're passionate about. And through the podcast, you are going to be able to support thousands of educators, students, families, etc. Suddenly those things are different. And when we're looking at the concepts here, I can say you're going to go teach a lesson, and you're going to use Google Classroom, and you're going to throw AI on top of that, and you're going to make sure that everybody's 504 is covered, and you're going to make sure that their bathroom passes are done, and you're going to go, forget this, I don't have time, I'm done. But if I say, dude, you're going to change your classroom right now, and we're going to do it through the use of this thing called AI, this thing called Google Classroom, and that's going to help you spend more time with your kids and more time with the people that mean the most to you. And by that, I mean actually the ones at home. This AI thing is actually going to give you the opportunity to spend more time doing what you want to do. That's different than saying, yeah, here's a laundry list that you have to accomplish every 5 minutes, and you have to learn how to do prompt engineering now. The way that we look at things, it's the way that we market things, and it's the way that we are able to demonstrate the validity of these ideas and concepts. If we stop using the word and we start referring to it as through, suddenly things are not that difficult. We can go, all right, I know that through AI, this is going to happen. Through my podcast, you and I happened to meet and formed a great friendship now that's been 14 years through this podcast. But if I said, you got to go record something and you got to go find some people to listen to it, I don't have time for that. So it's the language that we use, it's the marketing that we put in there, and it's going, all right, we can do this. We're doing it. We're building a culture shift through dancing on the hill, as opposed to, yeah, you're going to go stand over there and wiggle your butt a little bit, and maybe somebody's going to follow you.
Yeah. Is all learning digital now?
I
How
hope
is the
not.
digital learning
No, I
strategic
don't.
plan
I
separate?
look, I teach middle school intro to digital media and a digital
Hmm.
media 1 and a digital media 2. None of my stuff starts digital. We're having conversations, we're writing things down, we're drawing things out. I might draw on paper and I might draw on a Canva whiteboard, but I'm still doing the analytical roll your sleeves up, getting your hands dirty. Even when I was in an official coaching role, even when I was in an administrator role, not everything has to have a Chromebook. Some of my best lessons, even now as a digital learning teacher, turn the Chromebook off. Let's have some fun today. And let's go to a field trip. Let's go down the hall. Let's go to the library. Let's go. If you start with where people are, you can a lot of times get them to where you want them to be. You have to meet them where they are. And that's no difference if it's a third grader or a third grade teacher. Where are you right now? My vision is over here. The mission is, how do I get you there?
Actually, I had a conversation recently with a principal who was talking to me about how when he moved into the principalship of the school he was in, there was a particular tool that they were already using in the school, and he had some skepticism toward it. And I asked if it was about that tool in particular, and it was just about the entire category. And he said, well, I was a technology teacher, so I'm not a tools guy. Which I thought was so interesting, right? Because it was like, it isn't necessarily what I would assume would follow from I was a technology teacher, so I'm not somebody who's just all
Yeah.
about the tools. But I think the point was like, we're really into the purpose and intentionality of what we use, so we don't just take for granted that we have to have something in each of these categories, like these are the required categories. We are really thinking about, what does it do for us? How is it a value add?
Yeah.
How is it delivering better results than not having it, or than an alternative? And so because you're in the role where you are working closely with technology, you're thinking about that.
But and I go, I'm not teach. I've been there for 3 semesters. I don't remember ever walking in and teaching technology. The lesson that I did today was all about choices, figuring out where you want, looking at something, reading it, synthesizing it, putting it together, figuring out what kind of a thing you want, and then go do it. Or I could tell you that we played with Google Docs. They shared their Chromebook with somebody else. There was some commenting involved. They shared their Chromebook with somebody else. There was some editing. I don't teach the technology. I'm actually trying to teach the kids some of these life skills. I'm teaching them how to do synthesizing of data. You might call it spreadsheets and charts and graphs, but I'm actually really not teaching spreadsheets and charts and graphs. I'm doing it through the spreadsheets and the charts and graphs. But what we're really doing is critical thinking skills, and we're trying to get them to teach. One of the lessons that I love doing is, why do you belong here? Our school district is very big on, I belong in my school, I'm building community, I have a place in this world, that SEL kind of stuff. All of my lessons are, show me why you belong here. Show me why you're wonderful. Show me how amazing you are. I just happen to do it through video, through a slide deck, through some writing, through some drawings, through some conversations. Somebody else is going to do it by reading a book. Somebody else is going to do it by doing math. Somebody else is going to do it just by sitting next to a student and having a conversation. So for me, technology is the vehicle from which you're going to transform a child. I don't teach technology.
Yeah. So what is a digital learning curriculum?
That's a very good question. If you're going to look at things in a horizontal landscape, you are looking at it from a September through June landscape, right? I'm going to start here. I'm going to end there. In the middle, we're going to do some docs and sheets and slides, and great. If you're really looking at blending the digital learning with the curriculum, and this is where a lot of school districts don't get it. They've got a tech director and a curriculum director, and there's no synapse between the two sides of the hemisphere, right, of the brain. You need to look at this and say, okay, I'm going to build a scope and sequence. I've got kindergarten through 12, and I'm going to build this up. And I'm going to know that by the time we get to second grade, they're going to know basic typing, drag and drop, some mouse skills, etc. By the time they hit the 4th grade, they're going to get these things. 7th grade, 8th. So when I look at that as a curriculum, I'm going to go, between the 12 years, this is where I'm planting the different skills. Now, if you do it right, you're going to say, well, by the time they get to 3rd grade and westward expansion, they're going to learn how to drag an animation across the screen. So you're actually doing the curricular skills at the same time as the digital learning skills. That's why I don't believe in going to computer class in elementary school. You're teaching social studies. Just show them how to do the project. If you need help, grab your instructional coach. That's what they're there for. But now that you can say by third grade, by fifth grade, by eighth grade, now you can start to look horizontal and go, well, where in third grade are they going to pick this up? Where in ninth grade are they going to pick this up? And so for that reason, it doesn't matter. You know that by the time they hit the end of ninth grade, they need this. Well, why do they need this? Well, because in 10th grade, they're doing these topics and these topics require these skills, right? Why do we not do well in standardized testing? Because kids aren't used to sitting there for 45 minutes. Oh, no, they're on the computer constantly. Not really. They don't know how to focus for 45 minutes while taking a bubble test. They know how to play on Google Docs. They know how to make a slide. But that's so different of a skill than focusing on a test or an assessment or whatever you want to look at it as. So looking at this as where in the curriculum do they want to learn the skills, and then which drag and drop, saving images, all that good stuff. Where does that come in those particular projects? So in my world, the curriculum director shouldn't be looking at it as the knowledge base, but also the how to get the knowledge base also. That's when you can get your digital learning and your curriculum director in the same room and go, okay, let's actually figure this out. And we're going to actually build lessons that teach both of these things at the same time, because you're not teaching curriculum and you're not teaching them digital learning. You're teaching them skills through the digital learning applications. Then it's a tool. It's not a thing.
What is the curriculum mapping look like?
So for me, curriculum mapping really is just building out that spider web.
Mhm.
I teach a half-year course, and I know that I have 10 applications that they need to know. They need to know doc sheets, slides, websites, forms, organization, email, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, right? How am I going to get there? And if I can have that in my head, and I know that I've got 45 days to go through 10 different applications, well, then that means that I'm going to have a project that does more than one of those things. Right now, we're not right now, but the kids recently had to write an autobiography of themselves. They were 50 years old. Really, what I'm trying to teach them how to do is to format a Google Doc using paragraph headers. But the problem that I'm trying to solve is, where do you want to be when you're 50? Where do you want to be when you're 30? Where do you want to be when you're 20? Where do you want to be? I'm trying to get them to think ahead. Again, vision and mission. It all goes back to vision and mission. Oh, well, by 50, I want to have a house and I want to be an architect and I want to do this and I want to do that. Great. Well, by 40, what do you need to do? By 35, what do you need to do? By your what college major do you think you need? What kind of, because this is middle school. Where do you get there? All of that stuff comes up. And now I have to go, all right, well, how do I teach them paragraph map? I could do it on a Google Doc. I could do it on a Canva doc. I could do it on right? And so for me, it's take out project, insert new concept, but the skills are the same.
Yeah, I may need to do that project myself. I don't know. Nobody ever asked me.
And the fun part is that autobiography, we got there because I gave them I gave them a slide deck with 11 slides.
Yeah.
By high school, and I asked them 4 questions, like, what do you want to do? What kind of extracurricular? By 25, and I gave them a whole bunch of answers, or questions, I should say. So we took the slide deck into the doc. We're taking the doc into, now we're making a movie poster of your life. Now we're taking the movie poster of your life and we're building out scenes. The scenes are going to go into an animation project. So it's really, I do one project the entire 2 marking periods, but the web is chunked up into a dozen or so different projects with benchmarks and standards. But it's all standards based too, based on the ISTE standards, based on the curriculum standards. If you walked into my classroom on any day, I could tell you what math standard I'm hitting. I can tell you what science standard I'm hitting. I can tell you what English standard I'm hitting, because I'm teaching the child. I'm not teaching technology. And my mission statement in my school says we're going to have a well-rounded school district. So when I got the job, I took the mission of the school and I said, all right, I'm going to build my curriculum to that, because that's the map.
What do you feel like, and
Tired.
hopefully it aligns with what you said, right? Parents are looking for with respect to the digital learning that's happening in schools. I mean, we've referenced that important, the families, the community, as
parents
the
are looking at it from a
stakeholders.
lens of an 80s parent. I get asked constantly, are you going to teach my kid typing? No. What do you mean no? Well, we're going to write, your kid's going to write a resume. we only have one class period to do it in. If the kid looks around and sees everybody's moving faster, they're going to learn to type pretty darn quickly. So I am teaching you how to type. But no, there's not going to be any typing.com or Mavis Beacon or anything like that, right? They just know my kid goes like this with their fingers, or my kids are trying to use a big long keyboard with their thumbs, right? I'm giving the parents the skills that they're asking for. But when I actually have the chance, and I love this, to sit down with parents and they say, well, what are you doing here? And I go, I don't know. We're going to see where we are and we're going to have some fun with it. And then I pop out, well, the kids are going to be writing their own resumes. What? I said, yeah. In my upper class, we start the year off by writing a resume and we make it all up because they've never done anything before. They've never had a job. So they make up a resume. So they know how to do paragraph styles and headers and formats and bullet points and checkboxes and all that good stuff. Then we run them through an entire 2 marking periods of building a resume. No, sorry, let me say that again. Building a restaurant. They're now entrepreneurs of a restaurant. They're building up brand kits and floor plans and you name it, menus, the whole deal. Then at the end of the year, we write their real resume because now they've learned how to market, they've learned how to brand, they've learned how to build, they've learned how to create, they've learned how to, and now you actually have the skills. And now we can look at A and B and go, that's growth. And usually at that point in time, mom and dad want to give me a hug because they go, thank you for teaching my kids the skills that nobody else is doing. And I go, yep, call me anytime. So I feel that parents right now are seeing things. Are you teaching my kid AI? I'm showing them how to do a Google search. Yeah, of course I'm teaching them AI because everything is AI. AI does not mean Copilot, does not mean Gemini, does not mean ChatGPT. AI means I need something. How do I go get it? The AI is the tool from which that happens. So yeah, again, we're doing movie posters on autobiographies. The kid's like, I don't know what my movie's called. I said, good, open a Google search, type in 3 movie titles about a podcaster with a dream comedy movie. And it spits out 3 different movie titles. I said, great, take that and build on it. Don't take that and use it. Take that and build on it. So was I teaching AI? Maybe, but I'm not teaching how to cheat on an English paper. So I'm using the width, right? All I need to do is find a movie title. I'm doing it through the AI tool, or I'm doing it through a Google search, or all those good things. So yeah, I mean, parents are asking for a lot of, because they don't know. When I tell them that I'm doing advanced spreadsheets with their 6th grade babies, they go, that's kind of cool. Usually what parents tell me is that I have their favorite class and the kids can't stop saying good things about me. So I'll take that.
We'll leave that in the podcast. Yeah, I was doing the math when you were talking about the typing. I was like, how old are these parents? But it is true that like with so many things, right? Like and school being one of them, that between the time when we are a student in school ourselves and the time where we have kids in school, like your conception of it is trapped in amber. Like you haven't really thought about what's happening in schools in the intervening 20 years or whatever it is. And like with so many, like things I haven't looked at in the grocery store between the time when I was a kid and then I had a kid, and I'm like, they still make these?
Well,
I didn't know
the
this
fun
is
part
still
is
around.
the fun part's being on the other side. When you go into teacher conferences as the parent, I'm opening up my kid's notebook to the teachers and going, do you see what my kid is doing? And my kid, by the way, has a large Canva document that has its own calendar in it. He's built a productivity system with spreadsheets, and every time he gets homework, he writes down all the homework, and he's got charts and graphs. He's building out an entire productivity suite. And are you going to teach the kids how to do this? Because this is the thing that interests my kid. And usually the teacher goes, no, I didn't know what this was. And I said, well, look, if you've ever seen my kid playing with Canva, just know that he's building something that's pretty amazing. He's not playing with Canva. He's actually building a system to help keep him organized. And at that point, the teacher just kind of like, okay.
Maybe your kid could be my production.
The kid can know more than me. I'm like, well, look who his dad is, right? Like all of those different things. So we have one job. And I say this over and over again. This is the thesis for my curriculum. We have 13 years as educators with our kids. I have 13 years to get my kid to be able to answer one question. And that question is, tell me about yourself. If the kid graduates high school without being able to answer the tell me about yourself, then there's not going to be a second question on a job interview or on a college exam or on a whatever. They're not going to be able to get through the basic front door of life. So how do we train our kids to be, well, we do that through social studies because we're teaching them how to speak and how to write and how to tell a story. We're doing that through math because we're teaching them how to balance their budgets and stuff. Right. I'm happy to be doing it through the Google Doc system. Every school district has a mission. Bring a kid in, make them better, and send them out the door a better human. That's what we're all here for. And that is how, I'm going to do this again. That's how we do impact standards.
Yeah.
Your
Let's make sure that we talk about a piece that I know is important to you. It's the instructional coaching piece. And how does that fit into this, right? What's it all about?
It's the fulcrum. You are the fulcrum. You are the one that's in. So for those of you who aren't familiar, an instructional coach is usually an educator who has been deemed in a position to meet with administrator, get the vision, get the goal, figure out where the ship's going to go at a district level, at a building level, at a department level, whatever. And you are essentially the guide on the side. You get to go into the classrooms, you get to work with the teachers, you get to have those conversations. It's part education, it's part friend, it's part therapy. I have to be able to come in and go, so how you doing, Ross? Great. And then immediately, just like a student, are we going to work today? Am I going to listen? Am I just going to say hi and walk away? Where are we? What's the temperature of the class? But being in an instructional coaching role, you are that fulcrum because you are in the classroom, but you're also in the administrator room, but you're also dabbling around central office, but you're also, when the bell rings, you're standing in the hallway because there is no schedule for you. You are your own entrepreneur. Your success is you. If the teachers don't like you, they're not buying what you're selling. You got to figure out how to sell it a different way. So out of my coaching philosophies and a lot of the book is marketing. It's how do you put yourself out there? How do you write an email to somebody? How do you write a newsletter? How do you make a website? Not what your website platform is, not what is your newsletter platform. It's how is that newsletter actually helping get to Ross? And then how is Ross receiving that in a way that's going to say, I need to get Jeff, I need some help with this. And how is it all helping fulfill the mission and the goals of the school? Again, the school says we're going to raise reading scores. The coach's job is to raise reading scores. What is the coach going to do to entice the teachers to work with him? So that way we now have conversations about reading scores. We can co-teach about reading scores. We can make assessments about reading scores. We can work with the students on the reading scores, and then the reading scores go up. So you are that fulcrum that makes the teeter-totter run.
I mean, well, the marketing component, right, is so important. And it comes up again and again. I mean, it came up a few years ago when I was diving into some different interviews and work on the teacher shortage and teacher retention question, and what one of the folks who kind of works in that space within teacher prep programs said is the profession has a marketing problem. It doesn't market itself. I've talked to people in school districts about programs that they have within their district. I said, well, how do you market it to families, or how do you do enrollment marketing? You know that it's a competitive environment. You know that there's more choices than ever for kids, right? And that you need to make sure that families know what's available, what you're doing. And a lot of times with that, you get the answer like, well, we don't do that because it's a bad word or something. And it's like, no, you are selling a vision. You're selling an idea, you're selling opportunity, you're selling potential, right? Like it's not, and there's these connotations around it, or people have this discomfort with the idea of, if you believe in what you're doing, you should be really comfortable. And in fact, you should understand it as part of your job to tell people about it, right? I think a lot of people who, even when they think of sales, I don't like sales. That sales is uncomfortable to me.
Nobody likes sales because
and,
sales is a commission-based conversation, right? I
and
only,
it is
I only get something if you do something first. That's not how education should be working.
Well, the stereotype is when they say the used car salesman, but the stereotype is, I'm trying to trick you into buying something that you shouldn't want, right? If you believe in what you have, whether it be a product, whether it be an idea, whether it be an opportunity, right? If you believe in its value, you should not be uncomfortable selling it to somebody in marketing,
Right.
communicating it, telling them about it. You should, in fact, know that you're helping them when you make sure that they know about it. So whether that is the work that the coach is doing, whether that is within the school leader, the district leader, saying we have this strategic plan around digital learning,
Guy on the hill.
and we know that one of the key audiences for this is the families and the students. And we know that by proactively going out there and telling them about it, here's what we're working toward, here's why
Yep.
it's good, here's why it's going to help kids,
Yep.
that they'll be excited about that, that does a huge service to our teachers, because now people are coming to them with the benefit of the doubt, and they're actually eager and excited about what they're doing instead of coming in antagonistically, and the teachers are fielding all these questions about what's going on here because the school hasn't communicated anything.
But you got to meet them where they are.
Mhm.
Do you remember seeing the movie The Search for Bob,
Mhm.
the chess movie, right?
Mhm.
Kid seems to have a knack for chess. Parents decide to go get him a chess lesson. They find the chess teacher. Chess teacher walks in, goes upstairs to see the kid, and they have their first lesson. And then teacher walks down the door and before leaves says hello to the parents. They says, "So do you think he's good at chess?" And the teacher goes, "I don't know, it never came up." And he leaves. And that's coaching. Some days you just go in and you talk about music. Sometimes you talk about the family. Sometimes, and if you do that enough, then you can say, "So have you ever thought about this AI thing? Or have you ever thought about using Google Docs? Or hey, if I could save you 5 minutes," or maybe you just show them something and wait for them to go, "What was that?" And that's when you go, "All right, I got you. I've caught the fish. Now let's reel it in. Now we can get onto the boat." But some teachers will do it right away. This is the innovation curve, right? Some teachers will come to you and go, "Hey, you're the coach. Show me this." Some teachers are going to go, "I heard about this," or "I saw the other teacher do this," or "In the faculty meeting, somebody mentioned that I should come and find you." And then there's the teachers that are in the back of the room going, "Retiring soon. Forget it." Or they, to our point earlier, they've seen the pendulum go back and forth and they're like, "Yeah, this AI thing it's a fad. We're not going to be there." So you need to go in there and go, "Yeah, we're not going to talk about chess today. We're just going to, how are you? Tell me about your life. Tell me what you're thinking. Why did you like this?" And then you just leave because you're making
Yeah.
friends. And sometimes you do that once and sometimes you do that for 2 months. It's a relationship business. That's all that it is. Those who can do it right are mixing all of the ingredients, the technology, the reading, the strategic plan, the school improvement. All of that stuff is constantly in your head going, "Okay, how can I, when can I, how," right? Like middle school teaching, right? You know what days you can push your kids.
Yeah.
On the day that we're recording this, I know that tomorrow we have an assembly. I'm not doing much for the day. I'm getting
Mm.
my point across. I'm doing my lessons, but it's going to be a Friday and the kids are going to be bouncing off the walls. I'm not going to do anything that's too heavy. On Monday, we will. Like Monday, we will. But tomorrow, like I'm going to go in and hold on. And if I can get a few students to move forward on a few things, great. But I know there's going to be a lot of kids they just got back from a band concert. They're up on the chorus stage. They're up on, so yeah, there's a lot of stuff kind of around there, but it's all relationship building. No different than podcasts. You know when to ask the questions to move the conversation forward, and when it's time to go. "So what do you mean by that?" And
Yeah.
you just listen. Really? And you just listen.
Yeah, I mean, it's a skill. It takes an experience, right? With working with the schools, the coaching with people, by its very nature. You have to be comfortable with the multitudes. It's the diversity of individuals, but the multitudes within them, right? And
Yeah.
like today is this day, tomorrow is going to be this way.
I'll tell you one more. It's just like having triplets. All of them are going to move at the same boat at the same time. Sometimes
Yeah.
two of them need a hug and one of them needs to get tickled. It's the way it works.
So Jeff, what else you got going on? We've talked a lot about the book here,
You know what?
and
There's a lot of good things happening. You can find more about the work that I'm doing over on teachercast.net. You can find our podcast, our blog post. Of course, we focus on instructional technology and coaching. If you're looking to make a podcast, I've got some great things for there. If you're looking to get into productivity, we've been doing a lot of great things on Google Vids and Notion and how to stay organized. But there's so many different things out there over on teachercast.net. 14 years worth of blogs and podcasts and professional learning stuff. And, if anybody out there is looking for somebody to talk with them about their strategic initiatives, talk to them about their coaching, or would just like to have a guide on the side to help figure out the question of how do we get the classrooms to move a little bit in a more strategic way, would love to reach out and talk to you. And of course, you can always reach me at teachercast.net/contact.
Well, listeners, we will put the links below to Jeff's website, to TeacherCast, to the book where you can find impact standards. You can find that through either of those websites. So we'll put the link there below. It's published by X Factor EDU. You can find it on Amazon, wherever you get your books, but we'll make it really easy for you. Put the link right there. You click on it, you go over to it and check it out. There's a lot there. Jeff mentioned 90,000 words, and we have said, I don't know, only a couple thousand here in this interview. So there's plenty more there to read. Please do check it out. If you have not already, please do subscribe to The Authority. We'll have more interviews coming your way every week. Lots of great guests in the past. If you haven't heard some of our older episodes, scroll through there. It's still a lot of good ones there. Lots more upcoming. Or head over to bpodcast.network to learn about all of our shows. But thank you, listeners, for being with us. And thank you, Jeff.
This episode was edited by Gage Sanderson.